Good afternoon. Today I'm going to be reviewing the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra Co-Axial Master Chronometer. This watch is available from chronex.com for €5,000. You can purchase the watch from chronex.com online or alternatively in person at their boutiques. All their watches are Chronex certified original by their in-house watchmakers, and all their watches are covered by the Chronex 24-month warranty. So firstly, let's look at the box that the watch comes in, and then I'll talk you through the other items one gets with the piece. So the Seamaster Aqua Terra comes in this white cardboard outer Omega watch box. One removes the lid to the outer watch box, pulls down the flap, and I'll show you the inner watch box itself. Finished to a high standard, as you can see, high gloss lacquered finish, and we have Omega in the brand emblem inlaid in stainless steel, which is very aesthetically pleasing. Looks like it's made from solid wood with its grain finish, but it's actually made from plastic, and it has a stainless steel button push which releases the locking mechanism. Stainless steel hardware throughout and finished to a very high standard. I like the presentation of Omega watch boxes, and I actually prefer this to other high tier watch brands such as Rolex watch boxes. I think that Omega deserve full credit for very nicely presenting the Omega Aqua Terra Seamaster. So with regards to the other items, one gets this leather wallet which has Omega embossed, and on the reverse we have 3 slots for the 3 plastic cards, the International Warranty card, Pictogram card and Master Chronometer card respectively. Each of the cards has the full reference number of the Seamaster Aqua Terra and also the serial number of the piece. This is a brand new unworn 2021 piece, and as you can see it has the date of purchase on the warranty card, which was September 2021. And lastly, one also gets a very comprehensive owner's instruction manual. As you can see, it's very thick because it's translated into multiple foreign languages. Clear, concise diagrams and clear, concise instructions which detail every aspect of operating the Seamaster Aqua Terra, including the movement used, which is the caliber 8900 master chronometer. So, with regards to the specifications of the piece, this is the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra Co-Axial Master Chronometer. 41mm, so it's the 41mm case diameter version. It has a 47.4mm lug-to-lug measurement, a thickness of 13.8mm and a lug width of 20mm. The bracelet has a slight taper from 20mm at the lugs down to the 2-button push deployment clasp, and as you can see the 2-button push deployment is signed to a high standard with Omega and the brand emblem engraved. Good foam resistance to the 2-button push triggers of the deployment, and both halves open with reassuring clicks. Nicely engraved, flawless mirror polishing to the top side, underside and flanks, and as you can see, because this is a brand new unworn 2021 piece, it still has all the protective films from the Omega factory. Nice positive click when closing both halves of the deployment. One thing I like about it is either side of the 2-button push deployment we have 2 half links, and that makes resizing the bracelet easy to get the fine-tuning fit, to get the perfect fit on wrist. Double dome sapphire crystal, and we also have double AR coating, so there is anti-reflective coating on both the top side and the underside of the double dome sapphire crystal. I like the slight lip of the double dome sapphire crystal, and it has a beautiful domed profile to it, as you can see, which projects above the mirror polished bezel. The mirror polished bezel is polished to a flawless finish, as one would expect, and it complements the large mirror polished chamfers to the edge of the case. Absolutely beautiful case finishing. This is some of the best case finishing I have ever seen on a watch. Brushed satin finishing to the flanks of the case, which contrasts beautifully with the mirror polished chamfers. So absolutely beautiful classic Seamaster style case shape, and I like the fact that they've incorporated the Seamaster lugs into the Aqua Terra. Nice contrast between the brushed satin finishing to the flanks and that mirror polishing, which complements the mirror polishing to the bezel. The crown is knurled finish, and it's very tactile. One can get good purchase on it. Now, it may surprise you, it's not a screw down crown, it is a push pull crown, so in the closed position one can manually wind it. So let's test the action. One can feel the tension building up in the mainspring of the caliber 8900 master chronometer movement, so it's an absolute pleasure to manually wind it. One doesn't need to pull out the crown to manually wind it. In the first click position, it is the quick set date complication position, and as you can see, One feature I like about the Calibre 8900 is one can rotate the hour hand independently of the minute and second hand, as you can see. So one can rotate cycling through the hour hand through 24 hours, and that advances the date complication. If you look closely at the date complication, it immediately flicks over from 23 to 24, as you can see. So I'll just cycle through another 24 hours to demonstrate this again. As you can see, it immediately flicks over. So the Calibre 8900 has that advantage. One can set the hour hand independently of the second and minute hand. Pulling it out to the final click position is the time setting position. It hacks the movement. As you can see, I have now hacked the movement and stopped the second hand dead, and one can set the minute hand precisely to the second. So the Calibre 8900 is a technically excellent movement, very functional. Pushing back in the push-pull crown restarts the movement. It's got a nice satisfying positive click, and as you can see, the second hand begins to sweep around the dial once again. So absolute pleasure to operate the knurled crown, and as you can see, it is signed to a high standard with the Omega brand emblem, and flawless mirror polishing to the knurling. So it's got a nice tapered profile to it, and it feels very comfortable to manually wind it and also to pull it out and set the time as I've demonstrated. The crown provides an effective hermetic seal to 150 meters, as does the screw down exhibition case back, which is glazed with sapphire crystal. So as you can see, as this is a brand new piece, it has the protective film and barcode from the factory. But if you look through the exhibition case back, you can see the rotor is signed with Omega and also Master Co-Axial 8900. So this is the same movement used in the Planet Ocean, the 8900, and I love the arabesque finishing to the rotor, and it also has the same arabesque finishing to the bridges of the movement. So absolute beautiful decoration. I love the way the arabesque finishing on the rhodium plating to the bridges and the rotor catch the light. If you look at the finishing to the bridges, you can see they have a lovely arabesque finishing to them. Absolutely gorgeous to look at the movement. So the screw down sapphire glazed exhibition case back provides an effective hermetic seal to 150 meters, and it is finished to perfection, beautifully laser engraved with the specification of the piece. The solid end links are a good fit to the case, and they are also finished to perfection. Brush satin finishing to the case back and also the underside of the case. So I'll give you a wrist shot and you can see how it fits on my 8-inch wrist. Now it is a tight fit with all the links in the bracelet for my 8-inch wrist. So I'm just going to remove my glove to facilitate fitting it on wrist. And as you can see, with all the links in the bracelet, it does indeed fit my 8-inch wrist perfectly. So absolutely beautiful to look at on wrist. Now, although it does have the protective films, you can see that the center links are mirror polished and the outer links are brush satin finished. And there's a slight taper to the bracelet, which is 20mm, and they've got the proportions perfect, because the 41mm head of the piece does wear with wrist presence, but on the 20mm bracelet, it is incredibly comfortable. It feels weightless on wrist despite being 150 grams, and really 150 grams is a very good weight. It gives just the right feeling of quality and wrist presence on wrist, but it's not uncomfortable to wear. It doesn't feel top heavy. It feels very balanced. There's a beautiful taper to the lugs due to the Seamaster style lug shape, and it's just absolutely gorgeous to look at on wrist. There are several dial colour options to the Aqua Terra, but this olive green version is my personal favourite. It's got a nice metallic green tone to it, and I like the horizontal textured lines which add interest to the dial. Perfect symmetry, and I like the date complication at 6 because it retains that symmetry of the dial. The broad arrow hands complement the triangular shaped applied indices. It's just a perfect dial layout. The mirror polished bezel contrasts very well with the brush satin finishing to the flanks of the case, and I like the double dome sapphire crystal. It's just absolutely gorgeous. 13.8mm, so it is easily going to slip underneath the shirt cuff if you wear business shirts, so an ideal daily wear piece. And this also looks very aesthetically pleasing on a leather strap, or alternatively a rubber strap if the bracelet isn't your own personal taste. So the 2-button push deployment is also very low profile, and that will easily slip underneath the shirt cuff as well, and it activates very well. Nice firm resistance to the 2-button push triggers, and both halves of the deployment open easily with no resistance. So very comfortable to wear for long periods of time, and also the feel good factor is outstanding. 47.4mm lug to lug measurement is very close to perfection. As you'll know from my previous reviews, I consider 48mm to be the sweet spot, so at 47.4 it is very close to it. Right, so let's do a loom test and we'll see how the loom performs when it's charged up to the absolute maximum. So as always, I'm going to use my 100 UV LED torch to charge it up to the absolute peak. Right, so that's now fully charged, and as you can see, it has not disappointed. Amiga call this white superluminova, but it actually looks like BGW9 with a blue tone, and as you can see, the broad arrow hands are loomed, as is the triangular tip of the sweeping second hand. The symmetry of the dial means that there is only the absence of the 6 o'clock index on the dial. I like the triangular applied indices because they allow for several layers of the superluminova to be applied. One can clearly differentiate between the hour hand and the minute hand, and also the sweeping second hand due to the triangular loomed tip. So it's glowing brightly and it's continuing to glow for a good length of time. It's clear that Amiga have used top grade superluminova, which does look like BGW9 despite them calling it white superluminova. Very impressive. Right, so let's discuss the movement used because it's one of my favourite aspects of the piece. So as I've discussed, this uses the caliber 8900, which is also used in the Planet Ocean. It is a reliable, well-proven, technically excellent coaxial movement. It's METAS chronometer certified as a master chronometer, so the stated accuracy is 0 seconds to +5 seconds per day. And I'm pleased to report that this one is very well regulated and it's running consistently at +3 seconds per day, which is well within the 0 to +5 seconds METAS chronometer limits. 60-hour power reserve, which is very impressive. It has a silicon balance spring, which is highly anti-magnetic, and the movement itself is also highly anti-magnetic. It's resistant to 15,000 Gauss, which is very impressive. It has 39 joules and it runs at 25,200 vibrations per hour and a frequency of 3.5 Hz. So an ideal compromise between accuracy and power reserve, because running it at 25,200 vibrations per hour means that it can extend the power reserve to 60 hours, which is very good. It has hand binding and hacking, as I've demonstrated, which are used for complications, and I absolutely love the arabesque finishing to the bridges and the rotor, as I've discussed. So it's a good looking movement, it's technically excellent, it's reliable, and it's also accurate. Now, with regards to METAS certification of the chronometer, I personally prefer METAS certification to COSC, which is the other alternative. COSC chronometer limits are -4 to +6 seconds per day. Now, I personally prefer METAS testing. I regard it to be more thorough than COSC because METAS don't just test the movements to chronometer limits when they're 100% wound to their maximum power reserve. They also test the movements when they are running at 30% of their power reserve, which is a more real-life scenario, because often when one is wearing an automatic piece like this, it won't be wound to 100% of its power reserve. It will be running typically at 30%. So really it's very reassuring to know that this doesn't just meet METAS chronometer limits when it's 100% wound, it also meets chronometer limits at 30%. And really to get 0 seconds to +5 when the movement is only at 30% of its power reserve is incredibly impressive, and Amiga deserve full credit for producing a technically excellent movement with a 60-hour power reserve that can run 0 seconds to +5 at only 30% of its power reserve. So I like METAS certification. I regard it to be superior to COSC, which is used by Rolex, and I think that the caliber 8900 is one of the greatest Amiga movements ever made. I like everything about it. There are no negatives to it whatsoever. Very reliable movement, and one is getting the same movement used as in the Planet Ocean. So outstanding. I absolutely love it. So lastly, I'll summarise the piece. What do I think of it overall? Well, when I'm considering reviewing a watch on my channel, the watch should meet 2 criteria. It should be both excellent quality and excellent value at the respective price point. So €5,000 is the price point of this piece. Yes, it is unquestionably excellent quality, and yes, it is unquestionably excellent value at €5,000. This is a credible alternative to the Rolex Explorer as a daily wear piece, and I would actually argue that the movement, the caliber 8900, is superior to the caliber 3132 used in the Explorer, because this is METAS Master Chronometer certified compared to the Explorer's movement, which is COSC Chronometer certified. So I like the fact it has a 60-hour power reserve, which makes it a very practical daily wear piece. The build quality, the quality control, the finishing are all outstanding. This is some of the best case finishing I have ever seen on a watch. Everything about it is perfection personified. There are no shortcomings whatsoever. And I also like the attention to detail because, as I've discussed, there are two half links either side of the 2-button push deployant, which means that one can get the length of the bracelet perfect in the absence of a ratcheting or micro adjustment mechanism in the 2-button push deployant clasp. So one can get the perfect fit. Now, this is often a problem with watch brands that use 2-button push deployant clasps. The style of deployant clasp, which originally was invented by Cartier and then used by subsequent brands, they lack micro adjustment. The style of the deployant means that there isn't any ratcheting mechanism and there isn't any micro adjustment. So it can be difficult to fine tune the length of a bracelet using a deployant, but Omega have thought this through and they have added two half links either side, as you can see. So it is possible to get the perfect fit. So overall, it's an outstanding piece, and as I've discussed, I think this olive green dial is the best looking. It's just absolutely gorgeous. So I'm going to highly recommend it to you for your consideration. I hope you've enjoyed my review of the Omega Seamaster Aqua Terra Co-Axial Master Chronometer. Please feel free to post your own comments below the video. Thank you very much.